So at one point we were trying to do 1,000 people in the $1,000 in a day club. So that means we could make $1 million in a day. But we're way past that.
Yeah.
And now students are in the $10,000 in a day club. Like they're like killing it. There's been people, I got a screenshot the other day. Someone made $189,000 in one day trading from my course.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Melanin Money Show. And I am super excited about this one because we're actually supposed to do this a while ago. But I think everything happens for a reason. The stars align. That means there's just going to be some magic that happens today. We have a wonderful, wonderful guest friend on the show, Teri. How are you doing?
I'm good. Thank you guys for having me. I feel so good. I'm in between like all this handsome.
Bodyguards. We're unofficial bodyguards.
Yeah, unofficial bodyguards. Yes.
So Teri. So I actually have known Teri for a good little while. We met for the first time at BYOB in DC, right?
Yeah.
DC 2018. And I was like, who is this just sweet, great spirited person who is in the calmest voice? Our inside joke is we call her the silent assassin, because it's like, you know, in the investing world, right? It's like it's typically dominated by men and white men at that, right? And so here you have Teri, who's absolutely crushing it. So I know that it is becoming a shrinking population who doesn't know who Teri is, but can you kind of give us a little bit of backstory on who is Teri and how did you even get into investing, and a little bit about trade and travel?
Sure. What's crazy is, I'm not even sure if y'all know, but I was supposed to be like a young adult pastor in the church.
I didn't know.
Yeah, like I went to seminary for 7 years.
Wow.
And thought like, I'm going to just work at the church and get myself a little husband, little pastor husband.
You church.
Right. But my journey just went a completely different way. So I was in education for 10 years and my last job was assistant principal of an elementary school and just started hating it. Yeah. Absolutely hating it. And I remember thinking, okay, I need something else. Like something's got to give. Like I can't be here anymore. And my friend had passed away. Life was just gotten too short. So I said, okay, I've been trading as a side hustle for a long time. I had learned in college at MIT how to trade, and I had interned on Wall Street. So I knew it was a thing. It could be successful.
Okay, got it.
But I had just been trading on the side.
So we go to work in the daytime at your 9 to 5. And then at night, go home and trade.
She's glazed over.
But actually, at lunchtime, I would check my phone because I could trade on my phone. So in the morning time, I would check when the kids were going into class. I would check my phone, and then at lunchtime, I'd check, and then at 3 o'clock in Texas time, around the time the kids were getting picked up, then I would be like, bye, y'all. Is everybody in their car? And then I'd go to my office and like make sure all my stuff.
That was before the market closes.
And then at the end of the day, at nighttime, I would go check through my stocks, my watch list, and I would look at my charts because I'm a technical analysis trader, and I'll kind of set it up for the next day.
Got it. So what was your aha moment, right, when you knew there was an inflection point, like, okay, wait, I'm teaching, like you said, I'm starting to hate it, but like, when did you know that trading could be the thing that you could do like full time? Because like you said, you were doing it part time. Yeah. And there's a lot of people that are probably trying to do it and dabble in it part time. But when did you know, like, I'm good enough at this to just like leave my job?
I had figured out my exit number. I know you guys know about that too, like that freedom number.
That freedom number.
It was $300 a day.
Okay.
If I could just make $300 a day, I could replace my assistant principal salary.
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah, isn't that crazy? All of the headaches, the late nights, the crying, all for $300 a day.
And that's the thing why the numbers are so important, because sometimes people get so attached to the comfortable like nature of their job. They think, well, how could I ever replace my job? Then you just do the math. It's like, well, bro, you're only making $4,000 a month or whatever it is, right? Let's reverse engineer that. And like you said, $300 a day.
Yeah. And I mean, not to like put down $4,000 a month. That's really good. But you're right. It's just, it's like it's less than $300 a day. And the hours that we put in, like once you start looking at, okay, for educators,
for sure,
you never get time off. After school ends and you got to go home. For teachers, they're grading papers, doing lesson plans. For assistant principals, we trying to figure out testing and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
Then we don't really get breaks. The weekend, you're still doing stuff. So when you really look at the hours, then you divide that into 4,000.
Oh yeah, now you're like,
I'm making 50 cents an hour.
Yeah. You know the saying, they say salary that tells you how much you make, but doesn't tell you how much you work.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's like, you guaranteed this, but you can't guarantee how much you're going to work.
Yeah. And I think it's important because once you understand what your freedom number is, it makes it that much more attainable.
Right.
Like you look yourself in the mirror, like, can I not make $300 a day on my own?
Right.
Like look at all the resources I have, Instagram, the internet, whatever, social media. If I had 24 hours to myself, could I actually make $300 a day? And I feel like if people conceptualize that, it doesn't make the leap to entrepreneurship as scary as I'll have to replace this $80,000, $60,000 a year salary. I just have to focus on $300 a day.
Right. And don't let yourself get your bills down so that you really don't need it. You may not even need $300. Like, hey, I can live on $100 a day. If I have to, that's $500 a week,
and not deal with the stress of, the job or whatever. So a lot of people are very unfamiliar to investing. I know like we're in this ecosystem and it's so normalized for us. I think that's why what you do is so important, because you show how normal it is. You have students, they're winning, and we'll talk more about that. But can you kind of briefly break down what is the difference between just long-term investing, like, buying, an index fund and letting it sit for the next 30 years versus what you do? Because sometimes I don't think people really understand the difference. And I want you to kind of break that down for us.
Sure. And I realized that I didn't finish your story of what actually got me out.
Oh, yeah.
After I said the $300 a day, then I started thinking about like, okay, I had a day where I made $3,000 in a day.
Whoa. Can you walk us through that day, please?
Sure. I was investing in, was it Chipotle? I was thinking it was Chipotle stock. Okay. I was investing in Chipotle stock, and I was in my office. It dinged like, you just made $3,000, and my principal walked in, and I'm looking at him like,
don't do it, bro.
Right.
Don't try me today, okay?
And you know what? Like, I'm looking at him like, I wish you would say something. He just walked on back out the door. He didn't even say nothing. He came in. And then, because if he had said anything, that would have been over. But that was when I knew I could exit.
Okay. Just because that day you made 10x what you needed on a day. Yeah.
That was all. In one day, I had made almost what I would have made for the month as an assistant principal.
Right. And what Carter always says, like once you see it, you can't unsee it. You know what I mean? It's like now it's like I can't unsee the fact that I can make 10 times what I make in a day, right? In a couple of minutes or now.
And then to your question of the difference between investors versus like long-term investor versus short-term investor or trader. Right. So with that $300 a day, now I can go and have freedom. So I quit my job, started traveling around, but I still needed to be able to pay my bills with the money.
Right.
And I needed to be able to pay for flights, pay for hotels.
Right.
So I needed to be able to trade, take the profit, and then use it for something. That's the difference between a long-term and a short-term investor.
You actually need
as a trader, I sell, take the money, and then I can use it to pay for stuff.
Got it.
We trade for income.
Got it. And so then over time, as you get good, you have even more of a surplus, then I'm imagining then take a portion of the money profits that you make, and then you can invest in other things, whether it be long-term stocks or real estate or whatever the case may be.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. So it's not necessarily either or like people think it is.
You can do both.
You can do both.
It's my first time ever hearing that. Like usually traders be like, long-term investing is not what you want to do, and long-term investors hate traders. Like you shouldn't do that.
It's because polarization sells.
Yeah, there you go.
Right. It's like it doesn't have to be either or. It's like if you need active income in a hyper efficient way, if you don't want to have to worry about marketing, your credit score, people caring about the color of your skin, you just want to go into the market and make money, then it's a hyper efficient active income skill set. What's up, guys? Congratulations on joining Team Black Wealth. But we'd be remiss if we didn't give you a uniform as an official player on the team. So head over to shop.melaninmoney.com and grab your official uniform for Wealth Builders and Company.
We'll see y'all at practice.
You know what I'm saying? I think that's what people miss. It's just an efficient way to make money at the end of the day.
So what I love the most about you is the trade and travel piece. So I love to travel, right? And I think most people don't understand like the freedom of traveling and how you get to self-discovery and stuff. So what made you say, not just trade and stay home, What made, you know what I'm saying? Most people most traders I know, they're behind their screens in their house all day, and then they go, whatever. What made you say trade and travel though?
Yeah. I've been traveling for a long time. Okay. So when I was in college, I actually studied abroad in Madrid. Mm-hmm. And then every weekend when I was in Madrid, we'd go to a different place.
Because you're close, around Europe.
And then I did these business planning competitions. Like MIT hosts business planning competitions all over the world. So we actually hosted one in Abu Dhabi, and I got to be over all the logistics for that in college.
Wow.
So, nice. Yeah, so I've been traveling for a while, and I knew that it was something that I would really if I died and didn't get to see the rest of the world, I would regret it.
Yeah.
So that was the thing for me. I've got to go see the rest of the world.
Got it. Mm-hmm. So I know a lot of our listeners are maybe loosely familiar with what trading is, how to do it, but can you maybe just break down very quickly this, if someone say, you know what, I'm interested in this trading thing, right? How can they get into it, right? Obviously, we'll probably talk about your program at some point in this episode, but how can they get into it, and what does it look like? What is it like the day in the life of a trader, basically?
Sure.
Yeah.
So on a basic level, trading stocks is just like having a business. Okay. You buy things that are inexpensive, and then you sell things that are expensive. Just like I used to run a candy store, I'd buy the blow pops at Costco, split them up.
Oh yeah, I remember those days.
And then I go sell it for 50 cents. I had a high blow pop stand.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I remember those days.
And then you keep the difference. It's literally the same with stocks.
Got it.
You're going to try to buy them when they're inexpensive, but I like high quality things that are just on sale because of something random. Adobe is still a great company, but it went down $60-something the other day because they bought another company. Right. That has nothing to do with the actual. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But they're a nice stock on sale. Mm-hmm. So that's what we're looking for. Okay. High quality stocks on a discount.
Got it. And the primary thing that you're teaching people is how to trade options, right?
Options and stocks.
And stocks.
But technical analysis is, I would say, the bigger thing. I'm teaching you how to read charts to get in at the right time.
Okay. Can you go into that a little bit? So how, if someone were to, because that looks like Spanish to some people, right?
Yeah.
Right. So how would someone be able to look at a chart and identify man, this is a good company that I should either be buying or a company that I should be selling based upon what I'm seeing? How does someone ascertain that by looking at a chart?
So when you're looking at chart, you're looking at where the price has been over time.
Okay.
So if you can look back and say, the last time that it was at this price, it kept hitting here and then going up. If you were able to see that in the chart, then you could say, well, the next time it gets there, I'm going to get in too. Right. Because it might, when it gets to this point, it may go up again.
Okay.
We're able to see that in patterns in a chart.
Got it.
And what we're looking for actually is these banks that have big orders. Mm-hmm. They're just sitting in a computer. They've got 1 million share orders. And every time it comes, some of those orders are filled. Okay, fill in about 100 of them. Came back to this price, filled another 100. So you're just assuming that by the time it gets back to there, let's say it's $17. Well, there's still some orders in that big bank order that haven't been filled. So if I put my order in at $17 too, it'll go up when it gets there.
So it's kind of like following the bigger institutional traders so you can leverage their momentum. Okay.
And you know what? I think the frustration you were talking about earlier, long-term investors, you can't time the market. You can't time the market. Right. However, you don't have to go against the banks. You can go with the banks. Right. If you can find out where they are placing big orders, then they move. They are the market makers. Right. You can go with them.
Right.
Hop on that train.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Hop on that train.
And being honest, me being a financial advisor for over 10 years at this point, I honestly think a lot of it comes from just people being lazy, right? It's easier to say, buy this, don't look at it for 30 years. And it's advisors also, shameless plug, unfortunately, advisors doing the same thing, right? They're just buying these index funds or these low-cost ETFs because it's an easier conversation to have, right? Versus having to actually do a little due diligence and say, you know what, hey, this is a great opportunity. We're going to lock in some profit here, and our long-term cost base is going to be X, Y, and Z. It takes more effort, right? And I think some people just are willing to make that commitment.
You know what's so sad, though, is when you do that, you feel like you have more control, but you're actually losing control over your money. Mm-hmm. Because, right now, man, so many stocks this year have been completely cut in half. Mm-hmm. I think about, was it Meta that's down 60% from where it was? Netflix, I think.
Netflix is
just killed.
I saw that a mile away.
So if you're thinking, okay, well, I want to be in these companies for the long run, and you're just buy it and let it sit, right now you're just watching your money come down and you have no control.
Right.
But if you are a short-term investor, you can say, you know what, I still believe in that company for the long term, but I'm going to take my money out, let it kind of drop and come down, and I'll get back in.
Right.
Now you have the control back.
Right.
Got it.
No, that makes sense.
So my question to you is how do you manage your emotions when you're trading? Because from what I know, and I know some traders, like, they're stressed because there are good days.
And there's bad days.
There's bad days.
Yeah.
But you always seem so even-keeled.
What's going on, guys? My name is George Achampong.
I'm Jacqueline Shattuck.
And I'm Carter Cofield.
And we are the founders of Melanin Money. And the reason why we started Melanin Money is because we know that there's a great disparity when it comes to building wealth among people of color. We have a tremendous mission that we want you guys to join. Right? Every single year, we want to help at least 1,000 people improve their net worth by $100,000, which will create $100 million of new Black wealth every single year.
Can you imagine $100 million of new Black wealth every year? As it stands right now, for every $1 that a white family has, a Black family has a mere 10 cents to match that dollar. We want to increase the wealth in the Black community so that we can have equal opportunities.
Simply put, we're about closing the wealth gap, and it starts with you.
So, see you inside.
So, I mean, maybe you hide it. Because I'm good. Look, them bad days ain't that bad. You know what I'm saying? So, I guess 2 questions. How do you manage your emotions when you're trading, right? To not let your emotions take over the technical analysis. But even more than that, how do you help your students manage their emotions?
And I've had some bad days. I don't want to pretend that I haven't. I've had some crazy bad days, and I'm like, oh my God.
Right.
But a trading plan will help with that.
Okay.
So I have 7 steps that I take every time I take a trade.
Really?
And it includes risk management. It includes how I'm picking companies. It includes the technical analysis that I told you guys about. So if I do my 7 steps, that can take away some of the emotion. Mm-hmm. Even if it goes wrong, I know that I did all the things possible to make this the highest probability success as I could. Right. And if it didn't go right,
you live with that.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, would you mind sharing those steps, or is that like a...
Sure.
Okay,
well, it's to understand how to do them, you need to
Okay, cool. But just
like
give a high
steps,
level. Yeah.
So, like, we're picking good companies, then we're looking at risk management, then we're going into the chart to figure out the best price, then we're putting in our stops and some protection in there so that if something happens, like, we'll be able to protect ourselves.
Stop the bleeding.
Then we're actually like placing the trade. So you've got and it's kind of crazy. Like, we've gone through all these steps before we even place the trade.
That's good though. That's good.
And then once we place it, we're managing the trade. Right. So now you've got to do like, what kind of exit will I have? And that's where people mess up. There's a lot of traders, they get in and they have no idea where I'm getting out.
Right.
Okay. So
or they get greedy.
Right. That part. But we've already established before we even started where we were getting out and where our protection would be. Right. So as you're managing the trade, you're like, okay, it's going in my favor. I'm either moving my stop or I'm taking half off the table and leaving the rest. Right. So
got it. So you said a stop to stop the bleeding if it does go wrong, but you also said a get out point so you don't get too greedy. So has there ever been a time where you see that get out point, but you're like, man, it's feeling good. Like, I don't want to,
Yes. There have been times where I want just one more dollar and all of a sudden everything falls apart.
And so you learned the lesson. Okay, good. Yeah. That's good.
Yeah, pigs eat, hogs get slaughtered. Yeah. So why do you think people are so intimidated by the concept of trading, right? There's so many people that just like, oh, I can't do that. That's too difficult. Why do you think that is? You taught so many people how to do it.
I think people think it's gambling because of this idea that you can't time it. They're like, oh, you're just throwing your money at it and figuring it out. But it's really not. Like, there are ways to put science and math behind it so that you can know that this is a high probability trade. Right. Like, if your reward is 3 times your risk, well then I'll take that trade. So I think that's the biggest thing. People don't understand that you can put math behind it.
Got you. There's a lot of people now, you've been in this space for quite some time, and we're seeing a lot of people over the past few years, especially during the pandemic, that have emerged in our trading experts. Again, I'm just glad to see the conversations happening. I'm happy, but at the same token, I think it is important to understand what you're doing. So everybody probably has their own sauce or their own trading style. What would you say is unique about your approach to your trading style that maybe kind of makes you stand out? Because you get results and it's documented.
Yeah.
Right? So
I think 2 things. One, I'm really, really big on risk management.
Okay, good.
Like, really big on risk management. You've got to be able to know before things we've already talked about, where you're getting in, where you're getting out. Like, that's important. Also, shorting. Not a lot of traders teach how to short sell, and that's how to make money on the way down.
Got it.
My VIP students are really doing well in the market right now because they know that, hey, when the S&P fell 500 points the other day, I just wrote it down, and they can do that.
And what is shorting for the people at home?
Oh, shorting is making money on the way down. So it's selling high and then buying it back low.
This is the opposite of
buying low, selling high, but you're selling things that are expensive and you're buying things that are inexpensive. Gotcha. You just do them in a different order.
Got it. Okay, so you teach people that, whereas a lot of people aren't necessarily teaching that specific strategy. Okay, cool.
Yeah. And technical analysis is different too. A lot of people are just thinking about the fundamentals of a stock, but I'm thinking of, okay, let's read these charts.
Yeah, and I'm a fundamental investor because I was just taught that way. And I used to be against technical analysis, right? But now I'm starting to open up to it more because it's math and charts. So like it doesn't have as much emotion in there. It's just like you look at what's happening and you make it's like a yes or no answer.
Yeah.
And I think that it takes a lot of the emotion out because I think bad investors are emotional investors. But when you are looking at technical analysis, you're just reading a chart and making a decision based off what you see, not anything that you hear. Because like you said, it could be a good company, but the stock price dropped for something that has nothing to do with the company's actual intrinsic value. It's just some hype or some media noise. So I think that technical analysis helps you see that. You're like, okay, the stock's still good, but the price drops, I'm going to buy it here.
Right. Yeah. Do you by chance know or remember why you were against it?
I read the book, The Intelligent Investor. And it's a book about straight fundamental analysis. Yeah. So, and it's a book that Warren Buffett's mentor created. I forgot his name. You don't remember?
Benjamin Graham.
Benjamin Graham. Yeah. So it's talking all about fundamental analysis. So again, people pick a side,
right?
And then they push down the other side because again, they just fear what they don't understand. Right. They fear what they don't understand. Yeah.
The reason I asked is because a lot of people don't like technical analysis because it heard somebody else say they didn't like technical analysis.
Yeah. Not that they actually had a bad experience.
Yeah, I have no experience with it.
To learn it, they didn't know what it was about. But all of a sudden, well, so and so said he don't like it. He said it's too hard, or they think it takes too much math or time. Right. But actually, it's not difficult. It doesn't take. It takes less time than fundamental analysis. And like we said, you can do both.
Right. Yeah. Is it fair to say that fundamental analysis should be the basis to tell you what to trade and technical analysis is telling you where it's going? Is that maybe a fair assessment?
It could be, yes. Like I trade a watch list of about 30 companies, and those 30 have been with me for a long time. I've been trading now 12 years. So,
hey, so over 12 years, you've been trading basically 30 companies.
Yeah.
I think it's a lesson.
Yeah, because that's a misconception. Yeah. People think you got to find that you got to invest all 4,000 stocks in the stock. No, it's like.
You can be really good at one and make your money.
And some people who just trade like the SPY. There's some people who just trade the SPY. Right? Yeah, that's all they do. You master it because you're looking at those same patterns over and over and over again.
I got a whole new respect for trading because I thought you were looking at all these companies trying to pick
every single day.
Yeah, because
those are the people staring at their computer all day.
Yeah, exactly. If you picking 30 or 10 or 5. You can get deep focus. And just like a business, if you focus on this one product or service, you can blow it up. You go, inch wide, but a mile deep. So 30 companies over 12 years, that's why you have so much success.
Right. I know those companies. I know them really well. But also, to the point of fundamental versus technical, I can look at the chart of one of those companies and tell you how the company is doing without having to do as much research. Yeah. So we don't have to necessarily do all the fundamentals, but it is important.
Gotcha.
Like if you know that company on the front end, it will help.
Got it. Got it. Now, speaking of the results that you've gotten and how you teach, can you talk a little bit about some of the results that you have gotten your students?
Sure. Yeah. So we have $1,000 in a day club where students were documenting that they had realized profit of $1,000, and you have to realize the profit because otherwise, it's not trading. It's just sitting in there.
Yeah. Right.
And just to clarify, people could have done it in their sim account or their real account. Okay. Some people are like, "Oh man, it's not all real," but if you're learning, sometimes you don't have the money to trade right away.
But it's giving them the confidence.
It's proving that you have the skill to.
Right. You got the skill set. We've had over 2,000 people in that club. At one point, we were
1,000.
Yes.
People.
At one point, we were trying to do 1,000 people in the $1,000 in a day club. So that means we could make $1 million in a day. But we're way past that.
Yeah.
And now students are in the $10,000 in a day club. Like they're like killing it. There's been people. I got a screenshot the other day. Someone made $189,000 in one day trading from my course.
What's going on, guys? I'm George.
I'm Jacqueline.
And I'm Carter.
And we are your money mentors. But today we wanted to talk to you about a really special feature, Financial Flicks. Can you imagine an entire on-demand library of financial content across 3 main categories: wealth building, entrepreneurship, and personal finance, so that you can take your finances to the next level?
Guys, when you replace entertainment with education, your life will change forever. Imagine replacing 1 hour of Netflix with 1 hour of Financial Flicks. Imagine how much further that could take you to your financial destination. And we have the perfect library for you.
Yeah, so if you're ready to Financial Flicks and chill with us to put more of your energy into education, then join us in the club. We can't wait to see you there.
See you there.
Right.
Jesus.
Like, they're doing really well. They are fixing kitchens. One just bought a house in Mexico. They're paying off their debt.
Right.
They're doing
y'all.
really well.
If y'all have been trying to figure out how to make some extra income, right? Yeah. I think that y'all might have found a way, which is a perfect segue. So talk about one of your students who had $180,000.
Yeah.
You mind sharing one of your most successful trade so far?
Yeah, I put on Instagram one of them, and I had made $1.8 million in one day.
What were you trading?
Amazon.
Thank you, Amazon. So while everybody else is going, you use Amazon Prime and spending their money, Amazon is paying you.
Yeah. She has no problem. She has no problem spending money on Amazon because they didn't make it.
Keep doing what you do. So let's walk us through that trade, because to his point about emotion, right? It's like, obviously you did your due diligence, you found your spot, you knew that this was going to be a good trade, but like, I mean, just watching that unfold, like, he kind of like walk us through that.
Sure.
Yeah.
I remember I was in Puerto Rico. I woke up that day, and first thing I do when I wake up is I turn on my phone and look at the market.
Okay.
And then I go and look at the charts. Okay. And I remember looking at the chart of Amazon that morning, and it had come down into what I call a buyer's level. Okay. So it had come down, and I'm looking at it like, that's a really good level. Like, I should buy here. And I kind of hesitated at first because the market is falling. So I'm like, well, it could keep falling. But I'm like, no, this is a good buyer's level. This is really strong. Banks are buying here. So I put in an order to buy, I think at the time it was 100. Was it 100 or 1,000? I think it was 100 at that time. Now I'm in thousands. But like 100 options contracts. And then that day, it came into that level. And sure enough, it started turning around and going up. And it went up over $100. And options contracts are, each contract you're trading 100 shares.
Right.
So if you're thinking like, I have 100 times 100 shares of Amazon, and it goes up over $100.
That's 10,000 shares? That's 10,000?
I think so.
Yeah, okay.
Or is it 1,000? Nope, it's 10,000, you're right.
10,000, yeah.
Yeah, so times 100. So it just... But then, like, of course, like, your profit is a little bit different because you have to subtract what you put in.
Right.
But my profit was $1.8 million on that trade.
Wow. So when you finally sold, what was the emotion? Like, did you celebrate or like?
I was excited because I had been working at that so long. Like, I had been working up. Like, I was working from $300 a day to making over $1 million a day. Right. So I'm looking at it and I'm like, yes, it's hitting my $1 million. But then I
would have flipped the computer. Everything had to go, bro. What?
Well, we managing emotions on.
Yeah, right. That's why I don't trade, bro. I get you happy.
So that's amazing. So one thing that I want to talk about too, and it's kind of not necessarily specific to trading, but again, we get in these ecosystems, we go in these rooms, we see people getting their $1 million awards and all that, and so we're kind of almost to a degree immune, right? To some level, obviously, there's certain levels we're still trying to reach, right? But like, at what point, like, because to your point, you were at trading $300, trying to get $300 a day to get into a point where you had a $1.8 million trade. Like, at what point did those type of numbers like just become like normal to you, right? Because some people won't make that money in their entire life.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So how did that become like, oh, okay, I made $1.8 million. We're excited, but like tomorrow's a new day.
Right.
You know what I mean?
And I literally had meetings because right after that I was going into a tour where I was touring my documentary. So I saw it. I was excited, and then I was like, okay, well, gotta go to this meeting.
See, I would have shut everything that day had to be shut down. Yo, we going outside. You know what I'm saying? To celebrate, but
we outside.
You outside. Look, we outside. But no, I think that's dope because again, you're so successful because like, all right, we did that mini celebration, but we got bigger things to do. Like your docuseries was just showing people who Teri is, and I think it was so important. I watched the whole thing, and it was just moving because it really showed the deep part into your life, like how you employ your entire family, how you keep everybody together. And I think outside of the amazing trader you also are an amazing person because you literally are the catalyst for your family. And like I'm seeing your mom's always there, your auntie's there, like your family are your business partners. I think that's really dope that you did that docuseries.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
And it's all, I think we're going to do an episode, a second season on the Trade and Travel YouTube channel. So it'll be coming soon.
I told Teri yesterday she needs to do a reality show, like a money makeover, where the women come all living in the house, they learn how to trade, and then at the end of the season, like there's like a winner or something.
Yeah. That'd be dope. That'd be dope.
I do think, to your question though, I have gotten a bit numb to the numbers.
Yeah.
So now it's more about the why, because I'm at a point in my life where I don't have to work. Right. Actually, I never have to work again in my life.
And none of your family would have to work again.
So then it's like, well, why keep going? And I think that's part of more a spiritual thing. Like I do believe that God gave me this. It's not just mine. And so I have just a responsibility to steward that well. But it is true. Like you get to a point where I'm just numb to the numbers.
Yeah.
Is it freeing though? Like, or because I feel like when people get to that level of financial freedom that you have, one or two things happen. They either get like to a point where they're like really in self-discovery mode, like why am I doing what am I doing? Or for you, is it like, do you wake up every day with the freedom, just knowing that this day you don't have to do anything, but you'll still be financially fine? Like,
I think there's a switch in my head that says I still have to grind.
Okay, like you still grind. You're at a conference.
Right. I'm at a conference. I'm trying to learn. I'm like, okay, what's my next funnel? Like, honestly, I'm still trying to figure that out. Okay, I probably need a little bit of a therapist because. I think I'm a competitor.
Yeah.
And
silent assassin.
Number one course, we can talk about that. Number one course creator on Teachable
for a long time.
3 years.
Yeah, she ain't giving that title up for a minute. Yeah.
And I've been having to figure that out too. Like, okay, if I slow down, am I okay not being number one anymore? And like that's been a real issue I've had to deal with.
Right.
I don't know yet.
Because the thing that I've learned in my journey in entrepreneurship is that like you have your identity and you have your role, right? And so like your role is the different hats that we wear, right? Yeah. So you're an educator to your students, you're a trader, you're a daughter, right? Any given day, we might not be the best in those roles, right? But our identity is unchanging. It's tied to our virtues. And sometimes I think when we do something for so long and we're so well at it, our role can kind of merge with our identity.
Yeah.
Right? Because I realized like when I was stepping out of the financial advisor seat to be more in the thought leadership seat, it was like, well, I identify with being a great financial advisor, right? Like Investopedia, it's how if I stop doing that, like, am I, is my identity like confused? So I think it's just it's a level of introspection that we all have to go through as we evolve. But I know that all the great things that you do, you'll figure it out, and we're excited to watch the journey.
Thank you. Yeah. Hey, maybe I'll be back at the church. Like now it's full circle.
Yeah, right. Now,
and all the members gonna learn how to trade, so them tiles gonna be looking right.
We gonna pass the plate around.
Right, pass the plate around. Right. You said $1,000 a day, right? Okay, come on. 10%.
Don't be stingy.
10%. That's funny. So you mentioned something before we start recording of this, because your course is again #1 on Teachable. Been killing it, for years now. But you mentioned you haven't changed it in a while, right? Because you recorded those videos years ago, and you mentioned the potentiality of coming out with something else. Do you want to talk about that?
Sure. I'm super excited about Trade and Travel 2.0.
2.0.
Oh, yes. Okay. Like because there's so many things, like I as a teacher, like I'm getting better, so I want to teach it better.
You get better, right? 1.8,
right? When I first recorded, I was still at $300 a day.
Wow.
So can you imagine like the difference? And then even the impact, being able to see all the different students that have come through. Like we've trained over 30,000 students now.
You are training people at a college level.
Yeah, we got a little online university.
You know little about that.
It's full circle, right? It's like, we talked about that yesterday. It's like, you were an educator. Well, you went to MIT. Like, she just glazed over that. Oh, MIT. Like, she went to MIT, right? I think that might have a little something to do with how good you are. A little bit. Went to MIT, right? Then became an educator, started trading, and now you have your own university, school.
That's true.
It's powerful. It's full circle.
Yeah.
Thank you. I didn't think about it like that. Yeah. That's true.
30,000 people. That's
major.
That's major.
And the thing is, like, I was telling Carter, I always tell them all the time, is like, people are waking up to like the traditional educational systems. Like, I'm paying, you went to MIT, sorry, no. Like, I'm paying all this money to go to school, and y'all not even really guaranteeing me a skill that's going to translate to even pay this back and provide myself a living. And so I think people like you, people like us, like, the money for that industry isn't going anywhere, but it's just going to trickle down to people like, look, you take my program, I have documented results that you're going to be able to make money. So here's a question. How quickly, if someone like locks in the moment they pay, they get access, what is the average amount of time it would take someone to become profitable, to make money in your program?
Yeah, the course is 8 weeks. And I say give yourself a full 8 weeks to learn. Give yourself another year to become consistent. But in the first 2 weeks, they take their first trade. Yeah, like that's one thing I think that I learned as a student and a teacher. You've got to start.
You got to actually do the trade.
So your first homework after week 1 is take a trade, and then we're going to look at that the next week and do risk management on it, because you probably lost because you didn't know what you're doing. You have to start. But within those 2 weeks, I've had people pay off their whole course.
Wow.
Yeah.
Is this 8 weeks for the VIP program?
8 weeks.
Okay.
For the VIP.
Okay. Got it.
Yeah. And to your point of the tuition, 1 year at MIT right now is $79,000 per year.
You serious?
Yes.
It's MIT?
Almost $80,000 to go to 1 year of school.
Right.
And then you may come out and not get a job, not know what you're going to do something that's less than that versus a $5,000 online course.
So think about this. You pay, you MIT probably wasn't as expensive, but $70,000 a year to go to MIT was at $280,000 for 4-year degree, right? And after you graduated, you worked as a principal, basically making $300 a day, right? Or somebody can take your course for $5,000 and have a high probability of having a $100,000 day, because some of your students, at least a $10,000 a day. And that's where I'm like, we've been brainwashed, and I went to college for 5 years, right? Full undergraduate master's degree. But we've been brainwashed to go learn from people who are not doing what we want to do or being who we want to be, right? No shade to professors, but or we can go learn from somebody who's doing what we want to do and being who we want to be. But some people still think of it as a scam. Like, I'm not going to pay that coach, and that's a scam. That course is a scam. Like, we kind of been scammed our whole life on like getting $100,000 or $200,000 student loan debt to go then get a job as a principal making $300 a day.
And you just shifted my perspective. We're always talking a different, like, what is the right price point on courses and programs? It's like, but to your point, like, you're teaching somebody a skill, right, that's going to transform their life, right, that they can make, worst case scenario, they can make $5,000 a month, and the course is $5,000, right? Yeah. So it's like, you're making hand over fist money, a skill that you can learn for the rest of your life. You paid $5,000 one time, and you paid all this money for an education that you might not have made $1 from. Right. Right. So for my creators out there, don't forget that. Like, if you are valuable, you have results, you're good at what you do, like, know your worth. Like, sometimes people might look at a price point of a course like yours and say, oh, well, she's overcharging. But that perspective that we just laid out, like, it doesn't, it's almost disrespectful to you to charge anything less than $5. Right. When you think about, okay, what's the competitor out there? The competition is charging way more than me. Right.
then you think about, well, what's the other way that they could go get this? Well, you can get it maybe in an MBA, but again, you're paying $80,000 a year, and you already had to take undergrad, so that's on top of what you did.
$400,000 to learn this, and then you got 6 years later, like you know what I'm saying.
And then, like, how much could you make from this skill set? Well, there's indefinite possibility. And like, yes, one thing we skim over is like, you do need some money to make money. So like, get that job and then put that deposit or first initial bonus check into an account and then trade it. But this is a skill set that you can use forever.
And I like that you said that, because it's like, give people the proper context on what they need to be successful. Like, you hear people say, and again, not that you technically can't make money if you have a couple $100s, but like 100% of $100 is just $200. You know what I'm saying? At the end of the day, right? So it's like, you know, understand that, hey, this is a skill set, right? But you do need a little bit of money to make it make sense. But you can build on that. We're not saying you have to have $100,000.
Right, especially now when you start. You can start with $2,000 and just try to be consistent at, okay, I'm going to make $20 on a regular basis. That's still big money on $2,000.
That's a fact. That's a fact. All right, so we talked about a lot of great things today. What do you feel like is next for you? Like, what are you most excited about? Like, what's on the horizon for Teri?
I'm excited about this Trade and Travel 2.0. Okay. I'm really excited about that. I'm excited about quizzes. So I want to get back to like teaching.
Yeah, the principal, but then you're still there. I'm super creative, and I enjoy the creative part of it. So I'm excited about like, can I teach concepts in 60-second increments? So that's been like the challenge. Like, how can I do that? And then put it on TikTok and whatever else. That's just fun. Oh, that's gonna go crazy. Your content
I can't wait.
Yeah. If you ever have any questions about how to formulate that content, I got you.
Please. Okay. You know I'm gonna need your help.
I got you.
Yes.
I got you.
Awesome. 2.0, we're excited about that. And for someone who out there is listening and is super intrigued, they're like, man, I gotta try this trading thing out. Like, what would you tell that person who's on the fence? Like, they're still a little bit nervous. They see it's possible. They see that you got a $1.8 million trade. But like, what would you say to that person who's on the fence? They're interested in, but they want to like make that move and become a trader?
I'd say check out my free class at tradeandtravel.com. Okay. And then that teaches you like how I teach people to trade and how I teach people to make $1,000 in a day. Okay. Like, if you like that, then go into my course. But at least see if you like me as a teacher, see what I'm teaching, like learn more.
Okay, so we'll link that in the show notes. Yeah. The free class, but like, she gave y'all some games today. Like, you know what I'm saying? This is the free class. You can watch that other one, but like, yeah, I love what you're doing for people, and I love that you're freeing people from their job, but also freeing them in their life, like being able to let them see the world. Most people, especially Americans, don't leave their country. Right. So I think that is what you're doing is just phenomenal.
Thank you, and thank you guys for having me. It's been great.
Absolutely.
Last question. And you know, this is the Melanin Money Show, obviously. So one question we ask our guests is, what does being a melanin millionaire mean to you?
It means I'm not there yet because I'm going to be a melanin billionaire.
Oh, so let's go. Big B. Don't ever play yourself.
Because it was funny. We were talking about something special that we had planned. We're not going to release on the show just yet. Yeah. But she was saying, well, you need to have a category that's a little bit higher. You know what I'm saying? Because somebody gonna need to get that award.
Right?
And maybe she'll be the first one.
Yeah.
Stay tuned. Teri, it was a pleasure. We enjoyed it. And listener, please take action. As you know, we're an action-based show, right? Take something from this episode, implement it immediately, go research your first stock, watch her class, do something so that you can become a melanin millionaire too.
Until next time. Peace.